Hello, and welcome to another edition of North Carolina 4-H's Daily Spark. My name is Lori McBride, and I'm the Area 4-H Agent for the East Region. I would like to introduce you to the Aspire program and then share some tips for how you can become more confident taking the ACT. Today we'll specifically be talking about the reading test. But first, Aspire stands for ACT Supplemental Preparation in Rural Education. It was designed to bridge deficits in rural high school students' performance on the ACT college entrance examination and increase the number of students pursuing higher education. By participating in an Aspire class, you will learn the latest tactics and strategies to improve your ACT score. The program is open to rural high school sophomores and juniors and includes 30 hours of ACT course instruction where students will learn the skills they need to tackle the ACT. Students also receive the Princeton Review ACT Study Manual, their Practice Question Manual, and access to 4 ACT full-length practice exams with score analysis and breakdown. About 8 years ago, I took advantage of the opportunity to be trained to teach ACT prep courses through the Princeton Review. And today I'd like to share with you some of the tips and tricks that I found that may help you with your reading test. Some fun facts about the reading test are that the ACT gives you 35 minutes to answer 40 questions. These questions correspond to 4 passages of about 800 words each, with 10 questions per passage, and they're always in this order: prose fiction, social science, humanities, and natural science. You don't have to work the passages in the order they appear. Use your personal order of difficulty to decide which ones are more interesting or easier to read. Those that you can identify as easier to read will have a larger number of small paragraphs. Then look at the questions. Those with line references and great lead words will also be easier to answer. When you look at the answers, be sure to remember shorter is better. The basic approach on the reading test is number 1, preview. Check the blurb and map the questions. By reading the blurb, you'll be able to identify the author and title and also find some additional information. When you map the questions, underline the lead words and star paragraph or line references. There's an example listed here. Information in the 9th paragraph, lines 59 through 63, indicates that Einstein differed from Newton in that Einstein, and then you would have your answer choices. When we map the questions by starring the line references, you can see that there's a star beside the number 37 because you're given a specific location in the passage to find the answer. Also, I have underlined the words Einstein and Newton because those are great lead words. You can look through the paragraphs of your passage for those 2 words, and they should jump out more readily than most words would. One reason being that they're proper nouns and they are capitalized. Number 2 in your basic approach would be to work the passage. Now, this is optional, but if you choose to do it, here are some guidelines. Look for and circle your lead words. Never read anything more than once. Finish in 2 to 3 minutes. And if speed is a problem for you, consider reading only the first sentence of each paragraph. Number 3 in the basic approach on the reading test is to work the questions. Answer any questions that are easy to answer or easy to find in the passage. If you're given line references and you don't see the answer, you need to read in a window of 5 to 10 lines to be sure. Then work the answers. Find the match to your line references in your answers. One other thing I'd like to mention about the reading section of the test is that you'll have something called dual passages. One of your 4 passages will consist of 2 shorter passages on related topics. The same basic approach still applies, you just apply it to one passage at a time. You should remember here that the questions that are asked about just one passage will be easier than those that ask about both passages. Also, do the ones that have the most questions about the passage first. The same scenario will be true in the science test as well, and the same basic approach applies. Some other ways that you can excel on the reading test. As you're mapping the questions, you can decide which ones are now, later, or never. If it's easy to find, it'll have a line or paragraph reference or lead words. If it's easy to answer, it'll be what we would call a fetch question. Answers to fetch questions will match the passage very closely. So look for questions like according to the passage or the passage states. If it does have line or passage references or lead words, but it's a reasoning question, meaning that it has words like infer, means, or implies, it might be a now question, depending on how fast you think you can find it, or it could be a later question, where you come back to it later and do the easier ones first. If there are no line or paragraph references and no lead words, it still might be a now or later question, depending on how easy you think it would be to answer. And if it doesn't have line or paragraph references and no lead words, and it's also a reasoning question, that might be a definite later question or even possibly a never question. Yes, I said a never question. Do not be afraid to walk away. Don't get caught up for too long on one particular question. There are many more of your now questions or your now or later questions that you could be answering. So do your best on that one that's a never and move on. A few examples would be found here. In number 1, it says the main purpose of the 5th paragraph. It says purpose, so that leads us to reasoning. But it also gives us a line reference from 49 to 59, so that would indicate that it would be easy to find because of those line references. So that would be a now or a later question possibly. In number 2, it says according to the passage. We said that if that says according to the passage, that is a fetch question. And it's going to be very similar wording in your answer as what you would find in the passage. These could be easy or hard depending on how many times the words robotics appears in the passage. So that's still a possible now or maybe later question. And finally, the passage indicates that Fred's theorem was developed. Well, the passage indicates, so that means it's a fetch question, and it should be easy because the term Fred's theorem should be pretty easy to spot in a paragraph. So that would be a definite now question. Hopefully these tips have given you a little more confidence to take a shot at your reading test and get a better score. If you would like more information about the Aspire program, you can reach out to Bianca Glaze, the North Carolina State University Aspire Coordinator at bglaze@ncsu.edu, or myself, Lori McBride, Area 4-H Agent for the East Region, at Lori_McBride@ncsu.edu. We'll see you in a little while for the next installment of North Carolina's 4-H's Daily Spark.